Hello YouTube, welcome to my video. Today I have a very special match, a 2v2 match in Napoleon Total War, Grassy Flatlands. This happens to be myself, MGL Dion of the 409th, and my partner is MGL Bunny Queen. Yes, I know I tend to make a lot of videos with her, because we are a pretty good 2v2 team overall. But like I said, this is a very special battle because our opponents are two of some of the greatest players in Napoleon Total War. The Ottoman player in front of Bunny Queen happens to be a guy known as Quintus, who is one of the well-known legends of Napoleon Total War currently in the game. He went with a Ottoman rush build with about, 10 cavalry. It looks about that number. And he's got mainly line infantry as his infantry. Bunny Queen went with her standard French build. She's got 3 Old Guard, about 7 cav, 3 Swiss foot. I think she has 5 voltigeurs this time. My army, I'm commanding the Portuguese. I have about 5 cazadores, 2 militia, 9 line infantry, and about 3 Portuguese cav. My opponent is TsR Commander. Again, another legend of Napoleon Total War. He's commanding an Austrian army. He's got about 3 Hungarian Fusiliers. He's got about 6 to 7 German Fusiliers, about 5 Grenzers, and about 5 Lancers. As you can see, we're starting to make contact here. I know my real advantage in this fight against Commander is my light infantry, but also my line infantry at the same time are not so bad to the point where they can't take on Hungarian Fusiliers. Because Portuguese line, even though they're a minor nation and their morale isn't that good, overall Portuguese line is actually a little bit better than the other minor nations overall, because for one, they have the best line infantry in the game. No, not the best line infantry, the best light infantry in the game. Yeah, I almost made a major mistake there. And as for the line infantry though, out of all the minor nations, Portuguese has the best line infantry out of the minor nations. Their line infantry is packing a measly 6 in morale, but they've got a 45 accuracy rating, which is 5 more than the standard run-of-the-mill line infantry that the other minor nations have. So back to the battle. Commander went ahead and used his cavalry from the start, and for the most part I was able to form some squares, but he also managed to catch some of my units not in square formation. And he also charges one of my light infantry to the front, down the center of the formation. I try to retreat from it, and my line shoots some of those cavalry away before they actually get to my cazadores. As you can see, I managed to wear that unit down, but it also inflicted heavy casualties on my cazadores, which are going to be very vital units later on. I really want to protect the cazadores because that's Portugal's main strategy, is the light infantry. Portuguese light infantry are very, very tough. They're the only thing that can beat Prussian Fusiliers too. So now the battle is really starting to develop, and Quintus has started to send his cavalry, his massive cavalry force, half of it about initially, to start attacking my line, and now I'm essentially getting double teamed. And you want to know how dangerous a situation like this is? This is one of those situations where you're almost guaranteed to lose, because if you're getting double teamed in a 2v2 match by both of your opponent's cavalry, unless your teammate is able to provide some very good cav support like Bunny Queen is managing to do here, you're probably gonna die. And even then, you're probably gonna die with good cav support. So basically, and with a nation like Portugal, they're not exactly all that mobile, because their main advantage is infantry. That's why I like Portugal so much, because I tend to be an infantry-based player. And Portugal is basically letting me fight to my strength. So they've got this massive cavalry force engaging me right now. Both of them are sending all their cav into my lines, which I am managing to do relatively decent at repelling. And I guess it's brought on by the fact that most of Quintus's cavalry are Nizam mounted. Those mounted guys that have, you know, they can shoot on horseback. I can't remember the name of them. I'm not really an expert on Ottoman units. But basically those guys that can shoot on horseback. He's got mainly those guys, and they're not all that great in melee, if you haven't noticed. But he's got enough of them to the point where he can very much overwhelm me with them. And I've got about 3 units of Portuguese cav, but let's be honest here. Portuguese cav is very expendable at best. Like, probably the most usefulness you would get out of Portuguese cav is if you get lucky. And by lucky, I mean like very lucky, which I have managed to do sometimes. And the cav fight over here has already erupted into an insane frenzy of just utter chaos over here. And I remember how hard this was to actually stay alive during this, because I was getting hit by so much cav from both of them. And Commander's Austrian army is not exactly a pushover either, because he has those Hungarian Fusiliers, which are a little bit tougher in morale than the standard line infantry are. But my Portuguese line has better accuracy than them, so they'll probably win a shooting fight. At the same time though, most of my line's being tied up by all that cavalry that's engaging me, which they're still coming, as you can see here. And basically the only thing I could do, it took a lot of micro and a lot of me forming squares to actually beat this. That's literally the only thing I could do, is I would have my Cazadors retreat, as you saw earlier, and I would form my line into squares as much as I could, but the cav charges were coming like 2, 3, sometimes 4 at a time at different angles of the battle. Very, very micro intensive. And also Amber managed to provide me with a great deal of support with her French Chesla Savelle. She managed to shoot quite a few of them and engage and knock some of them off of me when they hit my line that I actually missed score formation for. But as you can see, we've mostly routed all of their cav, or the vast majority of it that attacked. But Quintus has still got a couple units here and there that are still engaging. And I actually still have some of my cavalry left at this point too. Portuguese cav, like I said earlier, is very expendable. But if you can manage to keep cavalry this long as Portugal, then you're doing something right.
Our men are running, sir.
But at this point, the majority of my line infantry units are depleted. However, I did accomplish my task. And my task was to simply stay alive. Which is, as you can see, yeah, my army is battered, but for the most part I've managed to do that. Commander really didn't bring as much cavalry, so when he lost all his cavalry, he still had a pretty sizable army left. Quintus, on the other hand, when he lost all his cavalry and that little engagement there, well, he only had a small force compared to what Amber has in her French army. And myself, I still have a sizable force left considering how much cavalry we just routed. Like, typically speaking, if something like that happens to you in a battle where you're getting engaged by multiple opponents' cavalry units, you're probably not going to survive. 9 times out of 10, if you have elite players doing that, you're not going to survive. And it was pretty remarkable how we were able to do that. My army, battered and brutalized as it is, still in this fight, as you can see from the aerial view. But Commander still has enough of his force left to where he can extend his army over to help fight Amber. But as you can see, Amber has almost her entire infantry force still in the fight. So no matter what, she's got more than enough infantry strength here to beat Quintus and hold off against Commander. All the while the remnants of my army are able to keep his army tied up. And as Amber starts to win her part of the fight, I can start putting more and more pressure on Commander's army that's facing me. So I've done my share of the battle. Now it's time for Amber to win her share of it. She did a remarkable job in helping me defend against that large cavalry attack, and you can see combined my Portuguese units and her French units outnumber theirs. So for all intents and purposes, we have a very good chance of winning this game. And I don't really know these two well. I kind of know Commander a little bit. Like I've known his clanmates in the clan that he recruited, TsR. They're a relatively new clan from what I'm understanding. Commander used to be a member of MGL, and he was one of their better members. According to Amber, he's one of the best on grassy flatlands in general. And the other player she told me about, Quintus, the Ottoman player, he has a YouTube channel and he's quite popular from what I'm assuming. And he's considered to be one of the legends in this game as well. So both very, very formidable opponents. Myself and Amber, however, we've come to become such a good 2v2 team. You know, we've not lost very many battles as a 2v2 team. Actually, I don't remember the last time we really lost. And well, we just have great chemistry in battle, you know. We can read each other's movements and be able to help each other out like that. So I immediately began to see that she was starting to harass Commander a little bit with her remaining cavalry units. So that was my cue to move my units up and take shots at him. It was going to be very, very crucial shots because every man counts at this point. Because the battle could still go either way.
We have killed their generals.
These German Fusiliers over here are going to have the slight advantage because they're managed to hide out behind a couple trees there. Despite my Portuguese line having slightly better accuracy. Amber continuing to lay down pretty good support with her Chesla Chevelle. And overall in this flank, Amber has already won her part of the battle. She used her old guard to basically just rout most of his units because he didn't really have many units left. He had primarily line infantry left, which wasn't going to do a whole lot against old guard and pretty much the rest of her army, cavalry or not. Which her remaining cavalry is actually supporting me right now. Now you can see who is clearly going to win this battle. Because Quintus, for the most part, has been knocked out of the fight. He's got a couple units left here and there, but it's not enough to really do anything. So now Commander's just left, and most of his remaining forces I could probably take on in a head-to-head fight at this point because he's been cut down enough to where the other half of his army is gone. So now I'm going to start to put the pressure on him now that his teammate is mostly out of the fight. Those little guard taking final shots at those units as they route. That's pretty much going to ensure that they stay routing. And here comes Amber with her Cheshire Savelle for the flank attack. As soon as I see that, I'm going to immediately start to move up with my line infantry to shoot it. Now you see that was basically 3 line infantry versus just 1 of his. You can see who easily won that shootout. And over on this flank, our remaining flank units are engaging each other. I have the slight edge in this battle, having more units over on this flank than he has. This is a very difficult battle, but this is just about GG. He's gonna pull off a last-ditch melee charge here, but it's not gonna do a whole lot. This is pretty much GG. Me and Amber were able to pull this off due to us being very cooperative and having great chemistry in 2v2. We always seem to have great chemistry in 2v2. So far, I don't think we've really lost in 2v2s yet. Just me and her. But this is an amazing battle, because normally someone would not survive a calf spam that big and having both players attack at the same time on the same person. That was pretty difficult to survive, and I dare anyone to try surviving a situation like that against elite players. Very, very micro-intensive thing to do. Anyways, my units are mopping up the last of those guys, and this is GG. Great game. And I would like to give a special thanks to TsR Commander and Quintus for the great battle that they provided us. And I'll see you guys later.